hit record. So this is, I'm Jess Leblanc. This is the Embodying Your Boundaries workshop at the National Hopes Talk Conference. So excited to be here with all of you, this nice little intimate group. I would love to just firstly introduce myself and then kind of give you a brief overview of where we're going, like a little map of where we're headed today. And I want you to know that this is certainly an interactive experience. Yes, I have some tools that I'd love to offer and some context that I want to share, but this is all really about us learning and growing together, and you're the expert of your own experiences. And please feel free, if you have something to share in the moments when I open up the floor to you, please don't hesitate to share or type questions in the chat that I could potentially answer for you. But super excited. Tina knows a few of these tools, and she's chiming in on the chat saying the best tools. So yeah, we are in a good group right now. And so my name is Jess. I'm a lot of different things, but the one theme that kind of remains the same throughout all the things that I do is to build capacity and connection within human beings. And I used to be a school teacher actually for many, many years. And what I realized was I felt like there was some gaps in the things that we were teaching human beings, things around relationship, communication, our own self-esteem, our confidence, our self-worth, our ability to interact with the environments around us, internal landscape, so on and so forth. So I was kind of noticing these themes within the school system and decided to exit the school system and kind of develop my own programming and my own resourcing for humans, young and older like us. So I work with youth and kids, and I also work with adults. But what I offer is psychosocial education and resourcing. So really focusing on the social emotional well-being and the movement capacity. So I also facilitate yoga. I just don't think there's any separating, right? So we're talking about boundaries today, which a lot of people think is a separation between me and another, or this and that. And I want to really get clear that boundaries are actually designed to generate and stimulate healthier connection versus like destroy, dismantle, avoid, close down, shut down, all of those types of things. So I kind of want to like revolutionize the concept of boundaries through this conversation. Are we all okay with that? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I just kind of feel like I've been trying to work really hard at, I'm wearing glasses right now, and I like to think that what I help people do is see with new eyes, like sometimes our conditioning, our family, our social environments, like kind of put grime or dust or mud on our lenses, the way that we see ourselves, the way we see the world. And I like to be able to just be like, okay, here's a little cloth, like let's just clean that dirt up so you can actually see differently. So I want to ask you firstly, in what area of your life are you struggling? Because we're all experiencing some kind of like push and pull with boundary. Just type it in the chat. Like if it's, I'm struggling with the boundary in relationship, my health, my own, interpersonal like being, like my work, whatever it is, just put the domain, just be like, oh, this, like, where are you really feeling like you need support creating some healthy boundaries? Just type it in the chat. Relationship, okay. And if you're like, where the heck is the chat? It's down the bottom, and you can just press chat. Boundaries in context to attachment. Okay, cool. Attachment to, Gordon, could you like give a little bit more context? You're welcome to type or come on. Attachment to like outcomes, results, people, ideas. Where are we? People. Okay. Yeah, I think we could all use some support with that. Boundaries at work, to do it all and to do it well. Yeah, I think we could all relate to that. A little bit of perfectionism, relationship and work. Okay, cool. And Sophie, just so you know, like I know that you and I work closely together. Whatever happens in this stays in this. Like you're safe to have a conversation about work, family. Okay, right. So boundaries exist in all domains of our lives, right? And even if we are struggling in one area, we know that that has a ripple effect into all the different domains in some way or another. And there's so much talk right now about boundaries, it kind of drives me a little bit bananas, because if you are on the landscape of Instagram or you're reading books, like a lot of the verbiage is that hard and fast, like boundary. You got to set a boundary. Yeah, like struggling to clearly, calmly communicate boundaries in relationship. Absolutely. And so there's this concept, I feel, and maybe you resonate with this, maybe you don't, but yeah, that hard and fast, like, no, like I've got to set a boundary. And what I feel like that does is it generates and creates a wall, as I mentioned. So that's where the like shutdown, avoidance, like almost that like exhaustion comes in as well, where we're just like, I'm setting the boundary and nobody's listening to me, or like this keeps happening, like, and then there becomes this cycle of like frustration. Just give me a nod, those of you on camera, like if this resonates. Yeah. You're like, yes, like I want to rip my hair out. And so what I want to sort of like start to navigate is like, how do we, like Jillian beautifully just said, I don't know where she went, but she's like, how do we clearly, calmly communicate boundaries? And how do we also like set them in a number of different ways? So mostly people are setting them with like a verbal or behavior. So like, no, I don't like that. Stop that. Or, oh, I'm just not going to check my email and I'm going to set a boundary, right? So like we kind of choose to set a boundary in these domains, verbal, behavioral. But what I think is really missing is this internal boundary and energetic boundary. And I believe that in order to set a healthy boundary, we need to encompass all of those things. So the boundary needs to be set internal. You could write this down, like internal and energetically. It needs to be set verbally, and it needs to be set behaviorally. In order to almost set the boundary like a gate. So it's like when the gate is closed, like we're permeable beings, right? We like feel and experience things coming in and out of our lives, in and out of our energetic field, our mind, our, you know, like we only have so much capacity in a day. I kind of think of, and I teach kids like a video game, you know, and you get like the certain level amount of hearts. Like we only have a certain amount of life force in a day. And if like your family takes up 8 out of 10 life forces, like your threshold and your ability to cope just dwindles like towards the end of the day. So it's like, how do we have these healthy connections that are like the gate opening and closing? And it's an opportunity for us to generate closeness. Yeah, internal, energetic, behavior, and verbal. We're setting boundaries in those ways so that we just feel really contained and solid, and we're not just like leaking our energy and our life force and depleting and burning out, essentially. I talk a lot about that in other workshops because it's all connected. So I'm going to teach you today. Let's just like kind of go over so we're all very clear. Let's teach and like have a conversation. And so you could come off mute if you wanted. Let's talk about like, okay, what does a verbal boundary look like? And you could talk about it maybe like in the context of what you wrote in the chat. But like, what would you say to set a boundary, or what do you wish you could say to set a boundary in that domain verbally? So we'll just kind of give some examples, like verbal boundary looks like this. A behavioral boundary looks like this. No is a great verbal boundary. No, or no, thank you. Jillian, sorry, you came off mute, babe. Go for it.
Yeah, well, I didn't have anything in mind, but I can think of something. So Well, I mean, just letting people know, or I've struggled with this in the past with friends, like the amount of time that I'm able to like spend time with someone or socialize or like hang out, like for me looks like a little bit limited because of chronic health stuff that I deal with. And I don't know, I struggle because I feel that maybe it's the way that I'm not clearly or strongly setting them. Like I don't want to hurt the other person, but then I also get really frustrated when friends like push that boundary, which I've experienced a lot. Like it's like not landing for whatever reason. And
Totally.
so yeah, and then frustration builds, and then I end up like saying it in a jerky way. It's like just seems like it's not yeah, it's not landing. That's what I would.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really great point, right? And so when I believe that boundaries really land is when there's like a synergy between verbal, behavioral, energetic, and internal, and there's like a cohesion, right? Because if you just say no, but then your actions are a yes, and your internal is frustration, there isn't like a cohesion. You see how like those things get mixed up? And we do this all the time. Like, I don't know if anyone has kids here. Does anyone have kids? Okay, so just as an example, like let's say your kid or your housemate or someone just like comes in, or your students come in and you're like, the backpacks go over here. And then everyone just dumps the backpacks on the floor. But then you, instead of reinforcing the verbal boundary, the backpacks go here and you put your own backpack here, but you pick the backpack up and you're internally seething and mad. Do you see how there's just like no cohesion versus like that Gordon's point, that like non-attachment, like if someone drops the backpack and doesn't abide by the boundary, like it's not about you. Does that make sense? Like Jillian is then taking it personally when the boundary is not landing, because she's taking it personally and thinking it's about her and people disrespecting her. But it could be something so totally different, right? And so it's just a very simple thing of like, if you say something, let the action coincide. Like if Jillian's like, I only have 1 hour to go for a walk, but then Jillian doesn't look at her watch, you know, or she does look at her watch and she's like, oh my gosh, like it's an hour. Like I really, I don't know how to say this to this person, but like, I gotta go. Like I'm struggling inside. My chronic illness I can feel is like really giving me signals, but she continues to walk and then gets kind of angry that the boundary has been broken. Like we have to start to take a bit more responsibility for, and I'm not saying you're not taking responsibility, Jillian, but like, do you see how like we can sometimes like immediately go to like blame, fix, rescue, like just upset, frustration, like, oh, fine, I'll pick up the backpack and put it away, you know, versus like teaching people constantly, this is the boundary, and doing it from a place of like, I'm not mad, you're not bad, this is the boundary. Yeah, resentment, like that's so huge, right? And there's this big, when we set these walls, then there's this resentment constantly. It's just this dance. So going back to like some examples, some like really like solid examples of like, okay, so verbal boundary. Yeah, like the backpacks go here. I only have 1 hour for this walk. No, thank you. Sorry, I don't work after 5 p.m. Like, not even a sorry, actually. Like, I don't work after 5 p.m. on Fridays. You know? But what we've done as a society is like we've trained each other and ourselves to like have no regard for boundaries. And we've made it so personal, and we've made ourselves wrong, and we've made other people wrong. And it's just time to like kind of clean it up, you know, and just be like, oh yeah, this doesn't have to be so like ridiculous and challenging and like heart-wrenching. Like I just got to get clear inside what I need, what I want. I need to speak it, and then my actions need to follow, right? So what's an example of a behavioral boundary, do you think? I feel like Kari's like, she's got one. She's got a good one for us. I know.
It's not appropriate.
Okay. You can tell.
But like I'm relating mine back to work. So the verbal is what I most struggle with. So when I think of like behavioral, I shut the door in my office because it's like, no more. I cannot take anymore. I put my phone on D&D. I shut my emails off of my computer, right? So those kinds of things are there, but the guilt gets in. It's like, well, what if this family needs me? How can I help this family? I'm the best person for this, right? Blah, 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 blah. So those are my behavioral. So, and I'm not always saying I shut the door. It might be I slam the door, but not appropriate.
Those are actually very appropriate though. And they're super great examples, Kari. I love them. Like truly, like logging off your emails, like creating a schedule for yourself, for your tasks, like moving your body closer or further away from someone, like those, shutting the door, putting your phone on do not disturb. These are all like very good examples, but can everyone see how when they're missing the verbal or when there's actually that internal, like Kari's shutting the door, but internally she's feeling guilt and not actually wanting to disconnect, right? So
and then some, yeah.
Go for it.
Sometimes on the other side, it's like, okay, so it's been commented, well, you're not being a team player. So that's why I need to get that verbal part. It's like, actually, I just need 30 minutes to myself to reboot, right? But I'm not good with that. Okay, give me more. Sure, 13 more clients, bring them on, right? I got this, right? So that, yeah. So
perfect examples, Kari. See, I knew you had the key for us. This is great.
I don't know the key, but I tried.
Who got something from what Kari was just mentioning? Like who can relate? Be like, yeah, okay, I can, for sure. Yeah, so thank you for that. And this is exactly it, is like we're trying to navigate the landscape of boundary without having that synergy and cohesion. And so then when there's like a missing puzzle piece, but we can see like what it's supposed to be, we're like, oh my gosh, like I just need that missing piece, or why is it not landing? Or like, why don't they get that? Why don't they just know when I shut my door that I need 30 minutes to myself? Like, I don't know about you guys, but like I've tried to read minds and it hasn't really worked all that well. So I'm really trying to continue to build that skill, but it doesn't really work. So that's perfect. So we've got some examples, maybe some other examples that I like to give of verbal ones. I'll just give you, I have like a little list here. Like, I can't right now. I'm not ready. Let me get back to you. We're in a culture of like extreme instant gratification. People want to know immediately, and we have programmed people to be that way. We are programmed to be that way. So it's just time, like I said, to like, okay, we get it, we see it, clean it up and start again. Other examples of some verbal ones: I don't have all the information I need to make this decision. See, Marianne's like, I can't even. Marianne, what's the energetic internal, what's going on internally when you say I can't even?
It's a phrase that I use a lot because a lot of times I'll know what I want to say, but it just won't come out. And I'm just like, I have a lot of, I want to say brain to verbal processing issues. I had a head injury 10 years ago, so I have a lot of problems. But sometimes I don't have the right words and I just have to say, I can't even. And people are like, oh, okay, what do you need? Let me help you. Like, especially friends of mine that know me really well and know, oh, you look a little rough. Like, what can we do to help you right now? And sometimes it's just, I can't even. I can't talk. I can't decide if I'm going to get myself a drink or my meds first or what, or you know what I mean?
Totally. And
but
so
it's just like, that's my phrase of, I just can't even. I got no words sometimes.
Yeah, I love that. And it's nice that like you have this support network around you that can understand that, right?
Yeah,
If Jillian
yeah.
goes to work and she's like, I can't even, she might need to provide more context for people so that it lands, right? So if she's like, I'm unable to do that right now, or I need a bit more time, or can you please let me process my thoughts right now and I'll get back to you. Like, it's okay, we're allowed to take
Yeah.
time, but we've kind of convinced ourselves that like we have to immediately, like you said, Marianne, like process brain, heart, mouth, okay, like action now. But it's okay to take a step back and say like, my needs are this, or I'm not comfortable. Like, please give me a moment. Like, there's lots of different ways to verbally communicate. So that's a great example.
Oh, sorry. I was
No.
going to say, would you recommend to people who don't actually take into account what you say, no matter how well you say it? So if I can be like really, really simple, concrete, spell it out. I can even write it out in a letter, be like super, super like clear and very, and they're still like, something's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with us. And I'm like, they're just not willing to cooperate, so to speak, or to go, oh, okay, well, I want to keep connection with you. So if I want to keep connection with you, we got to figure out how to honor this boundary or respect it or something. And there's just blatant disrespect and just blatant. And I'm just like, what do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I think we all have struggled with that at some points in our lives, or some people are currently. And I love Gordon's message in the chat about boundaries in context to attachment. And like, we are so attached to certain human beings in our lives. We're so attached to the outcome. We think that because maybe even they're our family or our partners, and yeah, like, why don't you respect my boundary? Like, if you want to continue connection with me, because I want that with you, why aren't you respecting me? And sometimes, honestly, like what I tell my clients, so I do individual coaching, group coaching, is like, it has to start with that internal and energetic connection with you. It's like, is this the right person that you want to be spending time with? Is this a person that you really think is valuing you? And like, what kind of like cost benefit are you getting out of this relationship? And sometimes it's like letting go. And I hate to say it, and sometimes even in family. And there's like a beautiful way that you can create those boundaries and say like, this relationship is no longer working for me. I have countless times shared with you what my needs are and my boundaries are, and I'm really struggling to understand like where the respect is here, and I'm going to take some time away. And I'm going to give you a tool as well so that you can energetically decide where, like, kind of in your boundary shield, you want to put people, places, experiences, like, hobbies, whatever. You can use this for anything that you kind of want to shift closer to you or further away from you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, there's sometimes like a really like hard snip that has to happen. And like, we've just, again, like, we haven't been taught how to have those conversations. We haven't been taught how to like do it with grace most times, because we've let ourselves get to the point where we're now totally exhausted, we're pissed off, and now we're just like, fuck you, get out of my life. Like, excuse my language.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Or we don't say anything and we just avoid it and we cut them out. And then everyone is just like, wait, what? What happened?
I had to do that. And I've done that to one person. And I'm on the verge of like, I'm on the last 2-3 strings where I'm about to do it to the last person, going, you're not hearing me. I've been trying to communicate and say these things to you for over 25 years and nothing's happening. And I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm done. Like, I'm just done. I deserve some peace. I know I need a break. I just need a break. I feel like, and it's so brutal for me because I've already had to do this before, and I've already tried to walk away, and I did walk away, and I was away. Let's say I cut these people off for, I want to say 3, maybe 4 years. And because of my grandmother's health, I had to like get involved with her and my aunt and health. So then people that I didn't want to see, I kind of had to see. And then I just started trying to put up with them. And so I thought, they're not going to respect my boundaries. So I have to sit here and decide, am I going to stay here because I love my family and I want connection with them? How long can I handle the abuse? Because they're not respecting, they're not. So it's either put up with it or put up with it till you can't anymore and then leave. So this is me going, I can't do it anymore, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's
And you
what?
really are.
You're not kidding me, you're not. I'm trying to be as calm as possible because there's moments where I lose it. But even when I'm sitting there forcing myself to not react, I'm just like, there's just no, I'm like one of the most hopeful people, and I'm realizing there's no hope here. Like there should be hope there, and I'm just like, I'm honestly not seeing it. And
Yeah.
I'm going, I feel more hopeful in me walking away just to be able to try to take care of myself more.
Yeah. And
I'm like,
thank you, Marianne, for sharing, because that's super vulnerable and it takes a lot of courage
thank
to share. Oh my gosh, no, please, thank you. Because this is such a real topic for all of us, right? And it is creating boundaries in the context of our families is one of the trickiest things, because we have these strong attachments to our families and we want to have these connections with our families, and it's really difficult to maybe set boundaries at times. And what it comes down to really is, yeah, choice, remembering that you are at the cause of a lot of things in your life. And I don't mean like cause, like you cause them not to respect your boundary, but I mean like you are more empowered than we even sometimes give ourselves credit for, you know.
True.
Like we are not at the effect of a lot of things. And I use this analogy a lot. So if you just right now, even in your journal, before I give you this tool, so all of you, if you just kind of do like a little, some of you have done this work with me before, but if you just draw like a little quadrant here, and in the top left, I want you to write at the effect, like EFFECT, or maybe it's the A actually. I think it's the affect. This is affecting you. Yeah, something is affecting you. It's the A. And then just write, so like we're at the effect of the pandemic right now. We're at the effect of the weather. Like it's things that we literally have no control over. And sometimes we can think, oh, wow, like I'm at the effect of everything. I'm at the effect of my family. But like what you'll come to realize, because what you'll do is in the column to the right, at the cause. So at the effect and at the cause. And then underneath that middle line, you're gonna write the emotions. And you can do this in your own time because we only have a limited amount of time today, but like this is a really great exercise to, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel anxious, when you feel depressed, it's really nice to like look. And this is where I think like there's a bit of a gap in our culture. Like we've gone so digital, and it's like really nice to literally get pen to paper and have something super tangible in our hands to be like, right, so I'm at the effect of, wow, I'm only at the effect of 3 things in my life. I'm at the cause of 20. You know, like we are so much more empowered. Like, what are we at the cause of? We're at the cause of our own response. We're at the cause of our boundaries. At the cause of means like we're in control of. I'm at the cause of how I show up in the world. I'm at the cause of who I decide is in my life and is not in my life. I'm at the effect of other people's emotions to a degree. Like I can't control, I don't control how other people respond or react, but my response to their emotion is mine. You know, does that make sense to everyone? So, and then you'll find too, once you start like kind of like jotting some stuff down, you'll be like, probably have the awareness of like, whoa, okay, like I actually thought I was victim or like out of control in a lot of areas, and I'm not really. And that's like such a liberating feeling to be like, whoa, okay. Like I am at the cause of so much in my life. And if I can understand how to set some healthy, realistic boundaries for myself, I can continue to flourish and continue to feel really strong and empowered despite what goes on around me, despite what I'm at the effect of, right? Because it's like I hold my own shield, I hold my own field and container, my boundary. You know what I mean? In the emotion column, like you'll probably find that things that you're at the effect of, the emotions are maybe like not as pleasant. Like you might have anger under there, or frustration, or like upset, or something to that nature, versus when you look at the cause, there might be a mixture, or maybe I don't know what will happen for you, but just kind of like play around with it and like pull this tool out sometimes when we're feeling like, whoa, I'm in overwhelm. Like, what is happening? What can I be in charge of right now? And it's like that control piece. That's rigidity is not control. Rigidity is like, it's what I call below the line. It disconnects us from our best self. Whereas like control is like empowered, standing on your own 2 feet, containing your energy, not depleting, not forcing, not pushing, that sort of thing. So the other boundary tool, just to kind of like take this internal energetic experience one step further, there's a lot of like cerebral, as I said, there's a lot of like boundaries are this, you must set your boundary like this. Like there's a lot of like formula. And I think what's happening is we are missing that energetic connection to our boundaries, right? If I am scared that my friend is going to abandon me if I set a boundary, then I'm really unlikely to set a boundary because my energetic connection to that boundary is not there. It's not matched. So that's like Jillian's example. If Jillian's like, I only have an hour for this walk today, but she self-sacrifices because she's so afraid that her friend's going to abandon her and not like her or judge her, or, you know, whatever. Like if that starts to take control over her energetically, she can't stand in her own boundary. It just fizzles. And then what the repercussion of that is the frustration and the upset. And more, Jillian's upset with herself sometimes too, right? And Jillian's not bad, not wrong. Like you see where I'm going with this. So it's like, how do we, step one, really feel and connect to like, why are we setting this boundary? What do I need from this boundary? Where do I want this person in terms of closeness in my life? Do I need to shift them energetically away from me a little bit so that I can maintain a healthy connection with this person and potentially like foster more connection? Or maybe they're cool right where they are, and that's enough for me, right? So on your page now, I hope this is all making sense and becomes helpful. I want you to draw. My tools are always very simple because holy hell, like we need to complicate life any further. Like, you know, so it's the intention of setting the boundary. Yeah, totally. Like there's a purpose and intention, and embodiment is wholeness, right? So when we're embodied, we're one, we're connected, mind, body, spirit, so to speak, head, heart, you know, verbal, behavior, whatever it is, but we're generating that wholeness and connection versus like fragmented. Like, oh, I don't want this person in my life, but I'm just going to sit here and not say anything and like cop this, you know, when really like, I don't want this. Like there's a disconnect, a misalignment. So this tool, so fancy, coming up close. So you could do like a little heart or a dot or whatever, or any kind of thing, and make like a little bullseye. Okay. And so I learned this tool from one of my dear teachers. She's passed away now, but her name is Dorothy Espio. And it's called the Boundary Shield. And so I use this all the time. And this is like the first thing I do when I need to set a boundary. And then I get clear, oh, in order to communicate this verbally, it needs to look like this. Kind is clear. Kind is clear and calm. So what happens is we communicate, and it's like, I use the example of like singeing people. Because we're so unclear internally about like where we want people in our lives or things or experiences, or like, do I really like this job? Like, is it aligned? Like, oh, like, we're just like muddled so often, and we're clouded inside. And what happens is it takes a lot of energy out of us. And so when we have to like actually set a boundary, we like singe people. So it's kind of like, when you like turn the gas on in a barbecue and you forget that you turn the gas on, and it just builds and builds and builds, and then you go to light a match and it's like woof, and like burns your eyelashes and your eyebrows off. Like, that's what we are doing to people all the time, because we're just like, gas is building, 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 and then explosion. So we want to avoid that. We want to like scale it back, and clear is kind and calm. And when you're settled, when you're embodied inside, then you can, those things follow. So there's 72 rings for your information. Dorothy was like, she got a download from whomever, whatever, doesn't matter. Don't try to, rationalize it. There's 72 rings. And so you don't have to draw 72 rings, but remember that it goes out to 72. Okay. And so what you're doing is, no one is allowed in your sacred space. The only time people are allowed in that little heart space or that little bullseye, that internal space, is like, let's say you're rearing a child. Like, you're literally keeping a child's life alive, like breastfeeding, or you're like supporting someone and caregiving them like while they pass. Like, someone's life is literally, or like an accident, like you're saving someone's life, you're keeping someone alive. Other than that, no one's allowed in there. And we are collapsing with people, with experiences, with jobs, with society, like all the time. We're just like letting that permeate inside of us, and it's overwhelming and it's exhausting and it's painful. And so we're trying to like really create this energetic barrier and boundary so that people can just like kind of come in fluidly and out. Sometimes like my mom is really close, like on 8. Other times I have to put her on 16, like depending on what's going on in my life. But it's this, like, you can see my hands going, there's like this like fluidity versus like that rigidity, like the walls, like, oh, I'm gonna build another wall. So think of, I always use like weird analogies, because again, like, I want to relate to people on a human level. You know how like a cat, a mama cat kind of like picks up her kitten and like by the scruff of the neck, and then like places them where the cat needs to go. And it's not mean, but it's direct, and it's very clear, like, you are coming with me here so that you are safe and that I still love you. So that's kind of like what we're doing in our lives, is like we're picking up and moving and shifting people in our energetic boundary shields. Now, this is a very abstract way of looking at boundaries. So if you're like, what the heck is this chick talking about? Stick with me for a few more moments. And I'm happy to support you beyond this. You can always reach out to me. So I want you to just think like, okay, who is someone or something? Like, for me, for a while, the ocean was too far out. Like, it was just like, it wasn't even really like on my boundary shield when I was living in Calgary, for example. And I lived in Australia for many years, and like, I really feel at peace and at ease by the ocean. And so I always felt like there was this like, we're just like not fully like settled and grounded in Calgary, like almost like a landlocked mermaid. And so like the ocean was off of my boundary shield, like it wasn't even in my world, let's say. And so what I had to do is get really clear and like bring the ocean closer to me. And so I moved, like I physically picked up and moved to the island, Vancouver Island, which is where I am now. That takes courage, that takes guts. That's a drastic example, but I'm just telling you, like, it's not just people that are kind of too far or too close. Like, maybe your goals, maybe your vision, maybe like your self-care, maybe writing poetry, perhaps like riding a bike. Like, I don't know, like so many things in our world can kind of get like just pushed off to the wayside and are not like in our ether, in our space. And we just need to invite them back in. And sometimes things get trapped in too close and we need to mama cat them and like put them a little further. So I want you to think of like one person, one thing, one vision, one goal, something that's like too far away. That's like hanging out on ring 72, or it's like not even on the rings, or it's on 40, but like something that you're like, I really want to bring that closer and be more connected. So like think of it as bringing closer is like increasing connection. Moving further away, it's not necessarily like fully disconnecting, but it's like generating some space between that. Okay, has everyone got one? Yeah. Okay, now I want you to do the opposite and think of something that is too close, or someone that is too close. And they're friends. There's going to be like multiple too close, multiple too far. Like this is a constant like dance that we're doing with ourselves. Now the thing or the person that is too far, this is like a practice. This is why I love this tool as well. It's a practice of utilizing your intuition. Everyone is intuitive. It's like a muscle. You've maybe heard that. No one is born without intuition. All of you would, if you went somewhere scary down a back alley, like I don't care who you are, you would start to feel these visceral sensations of like, ooh, something not quite right here, right? Everyone have an awareness of that. And then the opposite, like you walk into a room, you're like, oh, wow, like this feels so warm and welcoming, or like, I really like this. Like you have that feeling and sense as well. So that's your intuition. And we just need to flex that muscle. So without like using your brain, just thinking of your body and just like coming up with what you come up with, what number like on your shield, 1 to 72, is the thing that's too far. Just like it's fairly arbitrary, just be like, oh, 42, like whatever number pops into your head. Got it? And write it down. Then do the same with the too close. Be like, oh, shoot. My teenage daughter is on 4. Like that was way too close. Got it, Marianne? Ish? Getting there? Sorta? Don't overthink it, babe.
Yeah, I might be. I'm like sitting here going, I have one that's far away, but the one that's really close, I'm like, I'm trying to rack my brain to find something. And I'm like, I honestly can't think of something right now.
Oh, yes, you can. You just told us about the person.
Oh, okay. The people have to, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm already, no, yeah, okay, I see that.
You got it?
Yeah, in my head, I was thinking like, I already put someone else far away, and now I'm working on this next one. And yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so you're working on it, and that's great.
Now I'm like, that works.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Use that. All right, good job. So then what we're going to do, and like this is why I also think boundary work has to be like very intuitive and very personalized. Like I can't tell Kari or Gordon or Sophie, like I can't be like, okay, so number 4 on your boundary shield means this, this, and this. Like I know what my 4 looks like and what that level of closeness looks like to me, but like I can't determine that for anyone else. And this is why like this work is challenging, right? Because there isn't like a, here's a 10-step sequence or list or how to of like how to set boundaries with the family that are disrespecting you. Like it really has to come down with like, all right, so I'll give you an example. I use this example all the time because it's very relevant. My mom is on about 14 energetically for me. And my ring 14 for my mom specifically, like I might have something else on ring 14 and it look a little different, but like 14 looks like my mom's in Ontario, I'm on the island. It looks like we text most days, just little texts like, hey mom, love you, like have a great day. We talk on the phone probably every 3 days or so, unless something's going on. Like I'll just give her a ring. She lives alone, so like that's important for me to keep connected to her. And if we visit each other, I have learned over time that if I stay or she stays for more than 7 days, I revert to being a 16-year-old little brat and get so triggered and we just singe each other. So rather than continue that ridiculous dance and painful experience, because it was like for years, be like crying when she's leaving, be like, I'm so sorry, this last week was just like really shitty and like it just doesn't feel good. Jillian's just like, oh my gosh, like this is so relevant, right? So like I was just like, mom, I would love you to come visit. Like I have the availability of 1 week. And like at that 1 week, we're both still like regulated. We're both still not in each other's like pockets and like collapsing each other. Like we can hold the field for a week, right? And then we're able to maintain healthy connection. If for some reason, like I let her, I've done it, I've tried it, like, and this is a lot of trial and error too. Like, so like Marianne gave a great example. Like I tried to create closeness again. And like, I'm still not there yet. And it's like, okay. So like, rather than beat yourself up, any of us be like, oh, like I just broke the boundary again. It's like, clean it up, try again. Next time mom asks if she comes, it's like, yeah, mom, I got a week. Let's hang out for a week. Right. So it's a very like simplistic, but like kind of complex example because I'm using my family here. And so you get to determine like, wow, like what does it look like? My friend, so Jillian's friend kind of situation. How does a healthy relationship look for friend X, for friend Y, for friend Z? Like each person might be slightly different on your shield. And this is an internal reflection. This is why creating healthy boundaries takes time and effort and work, because you have to actually reflect. You can't be in reaction all the time. So if, for example, Jillian's like, okay, it really makes me feel good when I hang out with Susie and we go for a walk once a week and we catch up, and then that's it. And she knows that maybe looks like Susie on ring 22. The barista, like I can be kind and like sweet to my barista, but like they're not really in my boundary shield. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can still interact with people around you, but they're not in your like boundary shield. I don't have to set a boundary necessarily with my barista, or maybe I would, but so it's, you get to decide like what it looks like. Is this making sense? Like, again, I know that it's, yeah, mine is on 3. Your mom is on 3, or your barista? Yeah, like your barista's on 3 because you see that person probably all the time. Like they know your likes, your dislikes. So like, exactly, that's a great example. And like, what does 3 look like? 3 is pretty close. And like, that must mean that there's like some real beautiful connection there with that barista.
It is. It keeps my life going. And like maybe 3 times a day, I'll just admit that out loud. I'm Carrie and I have a coffee addiction. But yeah, that we do. It's like that good morning. And when you don't come and they send you a text like, oh, we missed you today. I'm like, oh, I'm working from home. Sorry, friend. Right. Like, but it's just like, that's what it is. And it's like, and when you say that kind is clear and calm, it's very clear and calm and so kind. Like every morning, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is so good. And like, thank you for sharing that. And I want you all to know, because we're about to like kind of get, if we could take an extra 5 minutes, I would love that, just as we started 5 minutes late. But I want you to know this isn't like, Kari's not gonna go to her barista and be like, you're number 3 on my boundary shield. Like, they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? Or like, Jillian's not just gonna be like, okay, friend, like you're 22 this week, so that means you get 1 walk. Like, that's not what we're up to. Like, we're up to like regulating and getting clear in ourselves around like where these connections lie. And then our actions and our verbal boundaries are the things that then kind of like solidify that. Right? So if I'm just going to go back to the friend example with Jillian. So Jillian's friend, Susie, I think I called her, she's on ring 22 for Jillian because Jillian likes Susie. She really does like Susie, and they have great connection and conversation, but like Susie's maybe not going to be her bridesmaid, or Susie's not going to like hold Jillian's child if she chooses to have a child like the first day. You know what I mean? Like there's like not that level of closeness, but she doesn't not want Susie in her life. Like she does want Susie, but she's also probably not going to like run to Susie if she has a bad breakup, or, you know, like it'll just be like a different kind of connection. And so if Susie like texts Jillian every day and is like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, because where Jillian might be on Susie's boundary shield, like Jillian might have Susie at 22, Susie might have Jillian at 3. Like Susie's trying to pull Jillian in closer, and like bless Susie for doing that. You know, Jillian's a great person. We know her. People want to be close to her. But Jillian has to really hold her field and be like, oh, you know, Susie, I'm really sorry. I can't, all I have time for lately, just with what's going on with me health-wise, is like, I really would love to connect with you and have like a 1-hour walk along the beach every week. Like, could we commit to doing that? Like, that would make me feel so good. And like, I really would love to talk to you once a week, like at that level, you know, like whatever she can, but can you see how like that communication is like super loving and clear and kind and like wants to like invite connection, versus be like, all I have time for is one walk, or like just Jillian not addressing Susie's request to connect and just like ignore, be annoyed that just Susie's trying to pull her in, be like, oh, this chick just like wants to be my best friend. Like, God, this is so annoying. Right? Like, it doesn't need to get to that place. Like Jillian can just be like, wow, like Susie's a really kind person. I don't want to be as close to Susie as she wants to be with me, but I can still offer this. Right? Is this helpful, Jillian? Like just from like, can you see the patterns and the connections here? And so then verbally, Jillian can share. Behaviorally, Jillian can follow through. Right? Maybe she's got time for a phone call and like she's really feeling like, that's the thing, like because they're fluid, like 22, Jillian might be like, okay, these walks are going great. Like I'm really loving these conversations. Maybe I'll ask Susie if she's available for a call, because that's like less taxing on my energy. Maybe I'll ask if she wants to have like a FaceTime call or something for half an hour. Right? So in the event that you are finding yourself in a situation like Marianne, where you are in a physical situation you're in a relationship where you're like constantly requesting that this is what your boundary is, like perhaps there's a way to request and like share that in a different way. If you've exhausted all the ways you could possibly share it and say it, then it's time to look in and be like, okay, where do I really need and want this person? And like, am I able to sit in a room and like breathe and know that like their inability to respect my boundary is about me? You know, maybe I don't really need them in my life right now. Maybe I need to take a little break, and it's okay to say that too. And if someone, remember, we're like, it's not our cause or our responsibility to necessarily manage someone else's reactions. So like if Marianne says like, hey, this really, I've asked you many times and I've shared with you like what my needs are, and it's really important for me for like my mental health and my wellness, like that I feel respected in this relationship, and like, is that something you're willing to do? Or because like I'm not really feeling like this is what I'm getting. And I might need to just take a little bit of a break. And that's hard for me to do right now, but it's harder for me to be in this cycle. You know, and like there doesn't have to be the singe all the time. We don't have to let ourselves get so collapsed in this, like, can you just like visualize for the moment, like all the people, all the things, all the goals, like everything in your life, and like so disorganized and like jumbled in our heart space, in our heads. And so sometimes being able to just like have a visual tool to be, and like you'll get faster at it. It's like right now you'll be like, okay, mom is at 10. What does that really look like for me? Like you're going to be in an evaluation of where you're at with your boundaries. And that's okay. And if we set them really healthy, there's opportunity for those things to shift, right? Like you can be open to possibility. You can be like, yeah, like, you know, I really have to have this person right now on 45, or like, I need a bit more space from work right now. But like, I still love my job. And like, I need space because I want to continue to love my job. Right? I want to like tell people like, I'm feeling a little bit, so like back to Kari's like closing the door thing, be like, hey everyone, like, I just want you to know, like, it's real, I like love this job so much, and I want to really give my best self to every one of our clients or our families. I think I heard you mention. So like for my lunch break, I'm just going to close my door and like put on a meditation, or like, you know, like eat my lunch, or just have like some quiet time so that I can just really refuel and like bring my best self. And then when she says that, when she does that, like, can you feel how there's like an ability to like shift and like not have that guilt associated with it, because like it's clearly been communicated. There's like a very clear, kind understanding of like what behaviors will be associated with that. And then internally she's like, yeah, like work is at 30 right now. Doesn't need to be at 3 for me. I can still be really good at my job and also have some boundary, right? Because we're actually not good at relationships and boundaries and work if we have no boundary, right? So it's kind of like we're coming to a close here, and I really hope that you got something that maybe you can like chew on this a little bit, and like if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll just put my email here in the chat. I offer lots of like coaching programs, and you know, you're welcome to connect with me. You're welcome to go to jessleblanc.com or embodiedadventure.com. My website or my Instagram is, put it here if you're into Instagram. But yeah, I think it's just a practice. And it's an opportunity for us to continue to understand like healthy boundaries generate more connection to ourselves, to each other, to our work, to our purpose. Poor boundaries, which we've all been taught. So none of us are wrong for having shit boundaries. It's just the way that we've been taught. And so just like we were taught that it's, oh, don't tell anyone you're depressed. Like these are all old ideas that we need to start to like reimagine how we operate in our lives, right? That's why we're having this conference. It's like new conversation, new day, new thoughts, like elevated experience of this life. So yeah, keep playing with your boundary shield. And if you have questions, like reach out and try it on, and you'll slowly start to notice like, oh wow, like I put Susie on 22 and like this feels really good, because like I am so clear and like confident where that is. I don't feel like angst or like constant struggle or strife, you know? And then there might come a point where Jillian's like invites Susie in a little closer with her words and her actions. So thank you again, everyone, for coming and taking the time to be in this workshop. This work is so dear to me, and I really hope that you were able to get something, even something super small or a little glimmer of hope. And also like, thank you for joining the conference and for being a part of this shift in this movement. Yeah, so cool that we're all just like really empowered to take this initiative and step. So have a lovely day. If you want to hop off mute and just say goodbye or anything like that, then please feel free to do so. But otherwise, yeah, stay in touch. Jillian?
Thank you. I just wanted to say, yeah, this has been really affirming, and like helped me realize that I actually have to put in more intentional work in like becoming a person who knows how to set healthy boundaries and communicate them.
Yeah.
I was like hoping that it was going to get better by like just saying no more or something. But it's like, I realize it's like a much deeper, and I've been in the process, but this is just like, yeah, very affirming that just connecting more, having that energetic connection.
Yeah, it's like this, right?
Yeah.
I always like get my students, I'm like stop or hello, like versus like get out of here. Like that the action like energetically can be so impactful, and it let that guide our thoughts and our words and our behavior, you know. So thank you, Jillian. That's really great. I'm glad to hear that. Stay in touch. And we're so close, like we're basically neighbors. So
Australia too, which is really interesting.
oh my gosh, cool. Yeah, let's stay in touch. Love to hear from you.
Thank you so
Do you
much.
also live on the island, Jillian?
I live on the Sunshine Coast near
I grew up there. Where on the coast?
in Sandy Hook near Seashell Inlet.
Very nice. Let me think. Langdale? Yeah, Langdale, right at Gibson's Landing, just above the ferry. I grew up there for 5 years. Yeah. Very nostalgic, very beautiful area. I've always thought maybe I should go back.